Hi, this is Robin Nelson here with Horror Pop After Midnight. I'm over here at the Horrorhound Film Festival, the Horrorhound Convention in Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm here with producer, makeup artist, Jake. How's it going, Jake?
I'm doing really well, Robin. Thanks for having me on here.
Yeah, you're showing a short film here at the Horrorhound Film Fest. A feature, okay. Can you tell us a little bit about the feature?
It's called They Wait in the Dark. It was directed by my friend Patrick Ray. I was one of the producers on the film as well as the special effects makeup artist. We shot it in the summer of 2001 in Topeka, Kansas, as well as Kansas City, Missouri. We just got it finished up and premiered it at the Fright Fest, Aero Fright Fest in London about a couple weeks ago. So this is our second big in-person film festival that we've been at.
So, what was it like to be over in England at that film festival?
Well, I didn't get to attend the festival. Patrick did. Patrick had a good time. Got a lot of good responses from the film. We had premiered our film I Am Lisa there back in 2020, I think it was. But of course, the pandemic did not allow us to go, any of us to go. But we've kind of got a good rapport with that film festival. It's done really well for us in terms of getting our films exposure, getting them out there, getting them seen, and it's a really good festival, and we like getting our films in there, or any film festival for that matter. So
How'd you guys get together, and how'd you guys come up with the premise of this film?
the funny thing is like Patrick and I have known each other for I don't know, probably about 15 years prior to working on I Am Lisa, which was our previous film together. We'd met at a small film festival in Topeka called Slash and Bash, and then we'd kept in touch. We both come from very similar backgrounds. We both grew up in small Midwest towns. We both went to film school. We both, wanted to be filmmakers, this, that, and the other, like the similar films. So when it came time to do I Am Lisa, I was actually involved with the writer and executive producer early on, and he's like, hey, Patrick Ray would like to direct this. What do you think? And I was like, well, I've known Patrick for years. Definitely. If he wants to direct it, then that's the way we should go with it. So we went that way, and so I got to work with Patrick on that. So it was our first collaboration, and since then, we have a good rapport. We work together really well. With the gestation of the film, he wanted to write something very confined. I remember it was late 2020 that he's like, hey, I got this idea for a haunted house story. What do you think? And I was like, I like it. I'm on board. When you get the funding, we'll work on this. And it kind of came together early 2021. We shot it in May. But yeah, working with Patrick is great. We've done a couple short films. He's produced for me. I've produced for him. I've done makeup for him. We've got a couple other things in the works here in the future. So yeah, it's a really great collaboration, but it just kind of came together really quickly. We had our executive producer, Megan, had wanted to produce a film with excuse me. Yeah, had wanted to produce something with Patrick for some time, and it just all kind of came together, and it was very low budget. We shot it in 12 days, so there was a lot of coordination. We kind of know the drill. We're all very proficient in our independent film, low budget filmmaking, and we're all very very professional level, I think, in terms of what we bring to the table. So it was a good collaboration, and it was one of those films that it just happened, and it was we got it shot and we got it made real quick.
I was reading something on Patrick when he was interviewing, saying the house you guys used, the haunted house. He said Patrick said he found that by accident.
I don't. He found it by accident, but also in a serendipitous way. Mainly because so there's a cool story. So we got the house. It's through somebody that he had known, and one of his first films was called Nailbiter. And when we were at this house was owned by one of the original investors of Nailbiter. And while we were at the house, Patrick ran across a binder, and the binder was actually his promo package for Nailbiter to get investors. So it was this really weird kind of serendipitous experience of, the connection to one of his first films, to this, to finding the binder, to shooting it there, and collaborating and working with the daughter of the original owner to get a shoot there. But yeah, it was just perfect. I mean, it was in partial renovation. So it had a dilapidated look, but it had electricity, it had water. It was out in the middle of nowhere, so there was nobody would really bother us. We kind of have carte blanche in terms of getting the shots, getting things set up, and all that stuff. So it was a really like I said, serendipitous experience that we got the house the way it was and through it and everything like that. And it was kind of like it was one of those it was meant to be type of things. Like this is where we had to shoot it.
So, how was it like to be working with the cast? It seems like you guys have like a very powerful cast of the type of film you're doing. It seems like it's like about hauntings, abuse, jealousy, all that crazy stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the film is about trauma, about generational trauma, about overcoming that trauma, and some good old bit of violence and supernatural experiences. The big thing with it is with the cast. He had written it specifically in mind for our friend Sarah McGuire, who's a phenomenal actress, and we'd worked with her on I Am Lisa, and I'd known her prior to that. I love working with her. We brought in Lori Winkle, who we'd all known, and I'd actually directed her early on when she was like right out of high school in something that I was doing that never finished up. So it was an opportunity to work with her on another more legitimate project outside of something goofy I was doing when I was younger. So getting to work with her again was great. Paige was somebody who had been brought in that Patrick had seen and liked. She was a treat to work with. Our young actor, Patrick McGee, was actually the grandson of an actor that is well known in the community. His son was actually in I Am Lisa in a small part. So it was kind of a family legacy thing there, and the kid was phenomenal. I mean, he was a kid until the camera rolled, and then he was on, and he did what he needed to do. I worked really closely with Toby, who was our not to spoil too much, but our one creature actor in the film. She was actually in LA, and we had casted her. So I actually coordinated with my friend Sven Granlund, who is a special effects makeup art in LA, and he did a lot of live casting and stuff like that. Sent that to me. I made the molds, sculpted the pieces, and then also had her go to go get context fitted and all that stuff. So when you see the character in the movie when she's in her full form, I think it's very subtle, very effective. But Toby totally took what I made for her and worked it and used it and made something that was, I think, is on screen very little, but it's terrifying and very effective.
That's pretty awesome, and I'm looking forward to seeing it today here at the film festival. I've been, dying. It's on my top list. So, what does horror mean to you as well into filmmaking?
I think when it comes to horror, I mean, I grew up in the '80s, so I was privy to a lot of different split genres of the horror genre itself. We lived in the world of slasher films. It was very big. As a kid, I loved that stuff. As I've grown older, I've found myself looking more and more towards the domestic horrors and how that affects people. And I think that's the same way with Patrick. I think he and I have very similar, mentalities when it comes to what is horrific. I think if you don't know the characters, if you can't get involved with the characters, find out what makes them tick, then the horror isn't nearly as horrific than when you had the nameless blonde running through the woods. It's like, oh yeah, she's gonna die. So I think a lot of what horror means to me is like taking those elements and bringing in the supernatural or the horrific. I think Stephen King is the best at that. He always took like the mundane, run of the mill. I think he quoted saying, horror is our neighbor. The monsters are there. We just haven't seen them yet. So it's like I think we try to focus on that. And just storytelling wise, when you can do something that everybody can relate to, or in some way, shape, or form, whether you had a parent you didn't agree with or whatever, or if it was, further along, and in this case, a horrific experience with a parent, we can and do have a collective experience, and we will find things. And I think that's where horror truly comes from, is our own experiences and things that we've buried, things that trigger an emotion, and then when the monsters come, then that just you've already gone an emotional ride. So then when the creatures and the monsters come along and start really scaring you, you're invested and you're terrified.
Yeah, that's why they're doing their job. You have to have a movie where you're invested in the characters. If not, people are just going to lose interest or just walk out of the theater.
Absolutely, and I think that's where our focus is always, especially with They Wait in the Dark, with I Am Lisa, stuff that I've done. Some of the best horror out there right now, I think, is that way. I mean, Midsummer. I think The Black Phone was the most recent one I thought was amazing, because you really, in a short amount of time, you were able to relate to the kid, relate to the situation, and then then there's the horrific element, and you didn't need anything else. I think when we over-explain the monster, over-explain the horror, then we lessen the impact. But so it's kind of that combination of having believable characters you can connect to, relate to, and a horrific element, because everything in life is, unexpected. You don't know. And by not explaining the creature, not explaining the monster, which is, I think, as a fan of John Carpenter and especially of the Halloween films, I always thought that the sequels after his first one had lost their luster because it became a mindless killer, whereas Carpenter's Michael Myers was a phantom. He was the essence of evil. Essence of evil. And I think that's something that David Gordon Green has brought back to that character, is this impending evil that is just there in a form of a shape that happens to be this guy. So I think that's what makes horror really, in this day and age, what brings out the real true horror is focusing on character-driven stories that happen to have horrific elements in them.
All right, thank you so much. Where can everybody, find you on social media to follow your latest short film and all that great stuff?
Best place to get all of us on Instagram. I am Monster Maker by Night. Patrick, I think it's just director Patrick Ray. It's pretty easy to find him, but we tend to do most of our stuff on social media. But yeah, we've got a couple different things. I directed a short film earlier this summer. Patrick and I are next weekend going and working on another short film that he's directing. So we've got stuff in the pipeline. They're all short films, but we're also got like 4 or 5 different features that are just we're waiting for the funding to come in. But a lot of interesting stuff coming our way, or coming everybody else's way, in the future with this stuff.
Since the film we're going to go see today, what do you want the audience to get out of it after they watch it?
I think the biggest thing is that with They Wait in the Dark is understanding that there is a way to stop generational trauma. There is a way to look at the horrors of your own life and saying, no, this has got to stop. I know that I had a very happy childhood. I and my father didn't see eye to eye when we grew up, but as we got older, I realized where his insecurities were when I became a father. In the same way, in a parental unit, there's a lot about parenting and a lot about generational trauma in this film, and it's something that I think everybody can relate to in some way, shape, or form, from even small discrepancies in parental relationships to the more harsh realities of some parenting. But yeah, we want people to be able to invest in the film, to love the characters, and at the end of the day, both see the emotional impact of what we're trying to say, as well as some good old-fashioned supernatural horror.
All right, thank you so much.